My second song is the 10 Crack Commandments by the Notorious B.I.G.
Okay, before we talk about this song, I want to ask you about hip-hop, a huge part of your life, as we know as outsiders. Yeah. When did you first fall in love with hip-hop?
Well, hip-hop celebrates its 50th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
I am 43 years old this year. I grew up one neighborhood over from hip-hop as it was being born. And I think I'm really the first generation for whom hip-hop always existed. I remember my sister taking me to those early 80s hip-hop movies like Beat Street and Breakin'. I remember when Disorderlies with the Fat Boys came out on VHS. My sister took me to a Kid and Play movie the day I graduated from 6th grade. And like stealing her CDs and cassettes and just wanting to hear more and more and more. And so I feel like I've grown up with hip hop, and it's always been the most exciting storytelling genre to me, full stop. And Biggie is like one of the best storytellers in this genre of storytellers. And so I picked 10 Crack Commandments in particular because this song in particular has an outsized influence on Hamilton. Every line is so compact and so clever. I always think of the one lyric where he says, tell him hell no, because they gonna want that money, rain, sleet, hail, snow. And I don't know if that's a phrase here in Australia, but there's a postal worker's credo in the United States. That's neither sleet, nor rain, nor snow, nor dead of night will stop these couriers. So he's taking the postal worker's anthem and in 4 words compartmentalizing it and using it in this, repurposing it in this new context. And there's just so much inventive language in every lyric he writes. I mean, he hasn't been with us for, he tragically passed away very young, and yet I'm still hearing new things in his music all these years later.
And I think also that ability for him to draw you into his world, no matter where you were, no matter, how far away you were from New York City, you were just taken into that world. He was such a visual storyteller as well.
Yeah, and that was really the thesis of Hamilton. When I started reading that book and I got to the part where Hamilton experiences a hurricane. A hurricane destroys St. Croix, the island where he's growing up, and he writes an account of it. And the account is so vivid that it's published for relief efforts, and people on the island take up a collection to get him a scholarship on the mainland. And that's when I went, oh, this is a hip hop artist, because that's what my favorite hip hop artist does. That's what Biggie does. He paints a picture so vividly with his words that suddenly we're there with him. And he transcends his circumstances as a result. I always think of birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we thirsty. And just the way in these little vivid couplets, he would just paint whole worlds for us and take us to where he was.
That also having that Venn diagram of musical theatre kids and hip-hop fans, and all of a sudden there's Hamilton in the middle of it. Did you ever imagine that you'd be the person who'd be the catalyst for that strange Venn diagram?
Well, what's amazing is I get to experience the joy of it both ways. I get to see musical theatre fans who hear 10 Crack Commandments for the first time, and they probably heard it in Hamilton first. And then when I was performing in the show, I would see the hip hop fans who maybe came in like this, like, all right, hip hop musical, let's see what he's got. And then when 10 Duel Commandments starts going, oh, this is coming from a place of real love and knowledge of Biggie and hip hop and all the rest of it. So that's really fun for me.
In terms of using specifically this song as well in Hamilton, in 10 Duel Commandments, why did you want to have this song as the song that you used to pay homage to Biggie within Hamilton?
Yeah, well, first of all, the fact that he's sampling the 10 Commandments, right? And he's rewriting them as the 10 Crack Commandments. I had to explain a really complicated concept in Hamilton, which is that dueling was kind of normal back then, and it was not an impulsive thing. It was not like 2 guys just showed up and started blasting at each other. There was this very ritualized code at which things escalated. And there were rules about how you showed up, who showed up. And I needed the audience to understand it as clearly as possible because it happens a couple of times over the course of our show. So the first duel that happens is in the midst of the Revolutionary War, and we use that moment to explain This is how it works. So that by the time we get to the fateful duel at the end of our show, we don't have to explain it anymore. We all understand what's happening and the steps that are escalating and the moments where this could have gone a different way being blown through as we get to this, sort of tragic circumstance.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about collaboration. You recently worked with the amazing Alan Menken on the live action remake of The Little Mermaid.
Right.
What was it like sitting with him as he, composed the music and you worked on the lyrics for these new songs?
I did all three jobs on Hamilton, book, music, and lyrics, but that's not my preference. I really just wanted to work with as many other people as possible after Hamilton. There's something that happens when you're in a room with someone else and you're throwing ideas together and you make something that you could not have made alone. The joy in working with Alan was, Alan will sit at the piano and go, I don't know, it's something like, and then the most beautiful melody you ever heard just like comes out of his fingers. And my job's to keep up with that and bring the lyrics as quickly as he's bringing the melodies, and so that we have stuff to play with and we have ideas and wrong turns and blind alleys until we find it. And then to work on Little Mermaid, which has been one of my favorite movies since I was 9 years old. I've known these characters for so long that once we figured out how our working relationship was going to be, it was not hard to pretend to be Sebastian or pretend to be Ariel or pretend to be Scuttle or Prince Eric.
Does that kind of blow your mind that you as a little kid are growing up in this golden age of Disney films, the animations of the 1990s, and now, all these years later, you're writing the songs that little kids, just like little Lin-Manuel, are going to be singing for decades to come?
It's really staggering, and it's really humbling if I think about it too long. It also gives me a very clear picture of what I'm chasing when I'm at the piano. I remember feeling weightless when Under the Sea started, being like, how am I watching this crab sing a calypso number? Time has taken away how weirdly contemporary that song felt. That was a pop song. And before that, as an 80s kid, the Disney songs were like Whistle While You Work and all these like When You Wish Upon a Star, all these songs that seem to have been written in granite by the legendary Sherman Brothers and other collaborators decades ago. And suddenly we've got steel drums? Like, what's happening here? And I just remember the thrill of that. And so when I'm writing those moments for Encanto or Moana, I'm chasing that. I want kids to feel the way I felt in 1989 Under the Water.